What's going on, everybody? It's Matt and Coach of the FF Mediators, and today we are doing a buy, sell, hold video. We are live for our first time together. We are excited to be here, excited to talk some football. How are we doing, Coach?
Man, we're doing great. Let's do this. If you got questions, send them our way.
Yes, sir. So we primarily do dynasty fantasy football. So if you have a dynasty question, please be sure to put that. Let us know. We are happy to answer that. If you don't if we don't get your question, we'll try to come back in the comments and let you know our thoughts. But we are super excited to be here. And let's get started. We've already got William in here. He said, "Evening, gents. Evening to you, sir. How are you doing?"
Yeah. What's up, William?
And he hit us with a dynasty question right off the rip, Coach. So let's just dive straight into this. So he said he was offered Mason, CMC, and Mike Evans for Justin Jefferson in a PPR dynasty league. He has CD, Flowers, and good wide receiver depth, but light at running back. Am I crazy for declining? He's a competitive team this year.
No, you're not crazy at all. Jefferson is the man. Like, this guy's going to finish as wide receiver one again, it looks like. Like, he's outside of Josh Allen, in my opinion, the best player in fantasy football. I mean, this guy is legit. What do you think, Matt?
I'm with you. I think I'm taking Jefferson in this side. I understand you need a running back, but here would be my advice. If you've got a really good wide receiver room like this and you're feeling like you might need to move someone, you can get better than this. I truly believe that. You can get a better running back than Mason and CMC because you're almost sharking points at that point, too, if you take both of them. Because once CMC's back, Mason's not playing.
Yeah, like these are basically the same guy. I mean, Mason and CMC, that's one player that you're going to be able to play. You're not going to be able to play both of them probably. So that's one guy and Mike Evans. Now, granted, that CMC is really good and Mike Evans is good, but Justin Jefferson's elite and it's dynasty. Like, Jefferson's going to be good for another 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, and like you said, in my opinion, I'm with you. He's the best player in the game. You just start him, and he's proven. Quarterback proof doesn't matter. This guy's legit. He's the number one. He's Justin Jefferson, man. We're playing him.
Yep, without a doubt.
All right, let's move on here. So we've got a 12-team full PPR. He's got Burrow, JT, Dobbins, Neighbors, McLaurin, Komet, and David Montgomery. Jets defense. Bench, I've got AJ Brown, Waddle, Amari Cooper, Braylon Allen, and Jordan Love. Any changes to the start sits here, Coach?
Not really that jump right out at me. I'm still gonna roll with Burrow. Like, I think, especially coming back after being 0-3, I think he's gonna play pretty good. Braylon Allen is tempting, but Dobbins and JT have been so good. I mean, it's a possibility you could think about the Braylon Allen for Montgomery switch up, maybe, but Montgomery gets in the end zone so good too. Like, no, I'd roll with what we got. I like this team, by the way.
If I did anything, I'd think about getting Amari Cooper in there. I know the first 2 weeks were disappointing, but man, he scored 28 points last week. He's got an insane amount of targets on the year. So I'd probably think about switching him and McLaurin, which is tough to say after he just had a great day for my Commanders, but that'd be the one change I'd maybe make.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper was insane Sunday, so that's definitely a factor for sure. I don't know. That could have been fool's gold too.
hmm
So I can see either side of that.
So he adds JSN is also available on the wire. Should I drop Amari Cooper for him? He doesn't trust Deshaun. I get your distrust for Deshaun, but I don't think I'm dropping Amari Cooper. I would maybe think about dropping Braylon Allen or one of those other names before I'd think about dropping Amari Cooper. That's just me though.
Well, and Deshaun has no one else to throw the ball to either. So Cooper's going to keep getting an insane amount of targets.
Yeah, I mean it's been an
Yeah.
incredible target run for him just to start this
hmm
year. So I think I'm chasing that.
Yeah, totally.
Uh, Lex Plant Some Trees says, "Yo guys, what's going on to you two? Dynasty Dogs, what's up, fellas? How's it going, man? We had a little chat yesterday on X. How you doing, man?" Let's jump into Dom's question here, Coach. He said, "I started Jennings last week and want to start him again this week. Should I start Moore or Jennings?" I'm gonna kick it to you. You're the Bears fan.
True. Yeah. I mean, I like Moore. I don't think Jennings does what he did again, to be honest. I would go with Moore because he's going to be the first option there for a while, and I just think things will just continue to get better there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. I think Juwan Jennings had his day in the sun, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. He's a heck of a guy, so I was happy to see that happen for him. But I'm going to play DJ Moore here. I think you got to put him in there and let him be the one. The Bears' offense is going to get better. I think Caleb threw for what 300 some yards last week, so they're moving the ball.
Yeah, they moved the ball last week, and they're going to move it even more, I would imagine, as they bring Komet more into the fold. I think DJ Moore's he's going to have some huge games, more huge games than Jennings is going to have down the stretch.
Yeah, Jamie Fernandez said over on Facebook, Jefferson is quarterback proof. Couldn't agree more. You just put him in the lineup and just move on.
But it's almost like he's so good, he makes every quarterback good, right? Darnold just looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, JJ's he's incredible. So, all right, let's look at here. Joseph Parker hits us with full PPR. Should I trade Amon Ra for Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, and Garrett Wilson? He lost Pacheco and only have Connor. The wide receiver room is Nico and Olave. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm making that trade myself. There's a lot of value there, and I really think Garrett Wilson is still Aaron Rodgers' guy and is going to get better every week. Jameson Williams is still in a little bit on Amon-Ra's targets a little bit now too. I mean, I just think that's an option to make your team better overall as a whole.
Does the Laporta injury cause any sort of hesitancy there for you?
Well, I saw it's a low ankle sprain, right? Like he won't be out that long, maybe a week or two, I would imagine. I even saw some reports thinking he might play this week. So yeah, that wouldn't factor for me.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about the CMC and Jordan Mason trade where are you sharking yourself getting basically the same guy? I think you can make that argument here, but I think the fall from Amon-Ra to Garrett Wilson is a lot better than what the fall was in the previous trade.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect tear down in a sense, right? Like Garrett Wilson's probably a little below Amon-Ra. I mean, everybody kind of feels that way, but Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet's brings it back up and even. And if it makes your team better, then that's the move I'm making.
All right, so let's get it here. Lex Plant Some Trees said, would y'all drop Dobbs or Quentin Johnson for Michael Wilson for a spot start over Pittman and Kirk? What do you think, Coach? I'll let you go first. You've been a Michael Wilson believer for a little while.
Yeah, and he had a good week last week, and I think he's going to continue to get better. But Quentin Johnston had his day in the sun 2 weeks ago and has improved. Is he asking to drop those two for Michael Wilson? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think Michael Wilson is going to continue to get better. I like Michael Wilson personally. I don't love Dobbs at all. I don't. Quentin Johnston, I think Michael Wilson has more upside. So, yes. Now, a spot start over Pittman and Kirk? Probably. I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying that because I was high on Michael Pittman. I still am. Michael Pittman's problem is he has a quarterback that can't throw him the football. And it just is what it is, man. He just doesn't have a quarterback that can throw him the ball. He's still a really good player. I just don't think they can get the ball to him.
Quentin Johnson, he scored not just 2 weeks ago. He scored last week too. He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. So I don't think I want to drop Johnson just yet. I'd be fine with dropping Dobbs if you want to pick up Michael Wilson. Would I start them over Pittman and Kirk? That is a tough question. I'm with you. I think Pittman right now, I think you got to bench him. It's been bad. As to Kirk, man, that's tough. I think it would depend on if Ingram plays for me.
Yeah, I got several Pittman shares, and it's painful right now. I mean, it's hard to watch, especially when Alec Pierce is the guy running down the field and getting the deep targets there. So yeah, and I'm looking at Wilson like he's been sitting on my taxi for a year and a half now, and I'm looking at now I got to get him up off my taxi and think about playing him.
Yeah, for sure. So let's look over here at Jared. He asked us, "What's up, guys? Should we sell A-Chain, and if so, how is James Cook as a return?" Now I'm gonna let Coach go because he's got a pretty hot take on James Cook, and I want him to say it out loud. No going back.
Okay, well, first of all, let's say A Chain's a heck of a player, but I think there's a real chance that James Cook finishes as the top scoring running back this year. Like James Cook has been insane. The Bills' offense has been insane. That dude's going to keep getting the ball. Like I really, really, really am high on James Cook moving forward. I think that's an excellent return. Like that's a guy I want. They're throwing him the ball. They're handing him the ball. A Chain will have some of his shine taken back when Mostert comes back healthy. He'll steal some from A Chain, and nobody's stealing anything from James Cook right now.
Only body that's going to steal from him is Josh Allen. But
Right.
here's the question too: if this is a dynasty league too, and you have Cook, you're getting a plus on top of that. So I would absolutely entertain this if I was a competing team or if I had some good youth at my RB position already. I'd be fine with moving off A Chain and getting Cook in return.
Yeah. If it's dynasty, I feel good with it.
All right, Jordan says Cowboys defense a good start, or do we think the Packers and Chiefs are a better start? So let me pull up the matchups here, Coach, and I'll read those. So the Cowboys play tomorrow night. They play the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Getting on chance to take on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and as the Giants' offense, they looked somewhat improved this past week. I know everybody was dogging the Giants early on, and we still don't think they're really good, but they've improved. The thing about the Cowboys' defense is they've made everybody look good on offense up to this point. Now they've played a pretty tough schedule. I mean, I don't know. Are the Saints that good on offense, or did the Cowboys' defense make them look that good? Like that's really a question at this point. Um, but I
Chiefs
do.
play
You
the
can't.
Chargers.
You gotta love it. You gotta love a Giant matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm banking on the Daniel Jones mess up. I also think that the Cowboys, this is gross, I hate saying it, they're going to be better. They have to be because they've been so bad. Um, the Chiefs play the Chargers, possibly having Taylor Heineke start, so there's a little bit of interest there. But I mean, he's a serviceable backup. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other team he said is the Packers, which I believe the Packers are they're playing in division, right, Coach? They're playing the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't.
Flores.
Yeah. I'm not messing with that. I'm not messing with the Vikings. Have been too hot. Maybe the Chiefs. You can consider the Chiefs, but you got to roll with the Cowboys versus the Giants matchup.
I think so too. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
William said, "Thanks, Jen. Thanks for tuning in, my friend." All right, now I got another question for you, Coach. Drop Tua for Carr, Gino, or Williams, or stick with Tua and see what happens. Have Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. stacked. Tua's the backup at this point.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in redraft here, I'm dropping Tua, and I'm gonna pick up any of those three. I mean, I think Derek Carr had everybody feeling like he was really good after 2 weeks, when in reality he's really average. But still, and Gino is very serviceable. Like if he's a guy that if you need for a week or two, he can come in and play really good for you. Caleb Williams is gonna keep getting better. I mean, if it was dynasty, I'd say, hey, dang, I'm right. Let me have Williams, but we know these guys aren't sitting there in dynasty
Yeah,
league. So,
I, I,
um,
I think I'd pick up
I'm,
Williams here. I mean, you've got Kyler, you've got an elite quarterback, so just let him play. We're talking about who's going to be on your bench, and Williams is probably the one with the most upside, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, and now's the perfect time to move on from Tua. I mean, I've been burnt by this Tua thing 100 times, and I keep letting myself get burnt by this Tua thing. And yeah,
It's
I've
by
got him.
your own doing.
If anybody wants him, he's sitting on my team too. If you're interested.
We got Tyler in the chat helping answer some questions. He's a mediator affiliate, so we appreciate him. He says trade Amari to the Watson manager. There we go.
Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
Michael
Tyler.
Lopez.
Tyler loves those stacks.
Hey, Tyler's a big fan of the stacks, so be sure to go talk to him about that one. So he says, Michael Lopez says, "Evening guys, is Madison worth picking up? I have Walker, Rashad White, um, Chandler, and Dobbins full PPR. What do you think, Coach?"
Yeah, I mean, Madison's a guy you want sitting there on your bench in case you need him, or he's a nice flex option because his dude is vulturing touchdowns at the goal line right now, and he's out snapping Zamir White, and for whatever reason they get near the goal line, they hand him the ball. I mean, there's guys that are interested in all of that. Rashad White, they made it very clear today they're going to keep giving him the football. They also made it very clear that they don't necessarily think that Bucky Irving's better than him, and they're going to share the load. So I don't,
Boo.
I don't know.
Boo. Bucky Irving's the one. You heard it here first. Bucky Irving's the one.
They had better play calls for Bucky Irving than they did Rashad White. If you don't believe me, ask the coach.
And better execution, too, with Bucky Irving. That's all I'll say. We argue about this a lot. For me, is Madison worth picking up? I guess it depends on who I'm going to have to drop. But if you can afford it, then I'm fine with it. I think he's going to be involved. How involved will he be? I feel like you're almost chasing touchdowns. He's had 3 touchdowns to start this season, 1 each week. So I'm just trying to avoid the Vegas backfield if I really can.
Well, who is it? Who does he have that you'd start Madison over?
That I'd start Madison over? I'd start Rashad White over him right now. Dobbins.
Definitely Dobbins. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I can afford it, then I'll do it. But I'm not going to just make a move to make the move.
Right.
All right. Here's a big question for you, Coach. This one comes from Isaac. Should I start Ferguson or Komet?
Oh man, see, all right. So Komet gets all kinds of targets this past week. All of a sudden, right? The dude wasn't even getting snaps the first 2 weeks. This past week, all of a sudden, he scores 20 points. Ferguson, to me, I love Ferguson. I think when the year's said and done, Ferguson's a top 5 tight end in fantasy football because they don't have a lot of other options. It's CD or it's Ferguson. Ferguson was having to sub himself out last game because he was running so many routes. Like, that dude was exhausted. I really, really like Jake Ferguson. I'm starting Jake Ferguson.
I'm starting Jake Ferguson as well. I mean, he's the best player. He scored 18 points last week. Like, that's the guy you want. He had 11 targets. I understand Cole Kmet had the big week too, but I don't think that's necessarily consistent. I expect these Bears wide receivers to be better and get more targets.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to get better, and Ferguson's going to be consistent.
All right, Dynasty Dogs. I love this. He says, how many shares of Bucky Irving have you bought recently? I've bought none because I have them all. You know what? I'm not far from that. I think I have 56% rostership. I might be wrong, but it's pretty close to that. So I have a ton of shares. I'm working on buying one right now, and it's not going well because the guy knows me, and he knows how much I like Bucky Irving.
He's really mad he doesn't have 100% Bucky Irving shares.
I am. You know, I watched him play at Tech last year when he was with Oregon in September, and I text Tyler, who's in the chat right now, and I said, this guy's legit. He's legit. And here we are. I'm going to stand by that to this day.
He's fast, man. He's explosive. He looks good.
All right, some more Bucky talk. Dom says, should I trade Steele and Pacheco for Bucky Irving? I have Rashad White, or am I overpaying for Bucky?
You're overpaying for Bucky.
You know, I don't want to agree with Coach, but I'm going to respectfully agree with Coach. I think you're probably overpaying for Bucky and chasing points. If Rashad was out, then we might be having a different conversation, but he's not. So I think it's an overpay.
You know, on the Steele thing, I was kind of surprised at how much the Chiefs leaned on him. The other guys didn't get as much run as I thought they would this past week. He was clearly their guy, and Andy Reid was hyping him up today.
You know, I think I said last week when I was on the show with Pete and Hoff, I think I said I think Kareem Hunt's washed, and I kind of stand by that. I don't think he's going to be anything. He got elevated this week for the practice squad, so we'll see what he does. I just feel like this
P. Ryan would get some looks. I thought P. Ryan would get some looks.
I just feel like they're all going to shark each other for the most part. So I'm just trying to avoid that if I can. I think you're overpaying there, so maybe see if you can get something else coming back your way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Carter says, should I trade Jaden Daniels, Amari, and Waddle for Hurts, Ayuk, and JSN?
Go ahead, Matt. I'm going to let you talk on this one.
Oh, man. I think I'm okay moving Waddle given the Tua situation. You know, Jaden Daniels, as much as I love him as he's my quarterback, I do think that Hurts is probably the better play this season. Ayuk has not been great so far, but I think he's also going to get better. I think I'm going to take the Hurts side on this, which is kind of odd. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, if it's dynasty, I'm definitely thinking about taking Jaden Daniels. Redraft, probably gonna roll with Hurts. Uh, I'm gonna stick with Hurts and Ayuk. If it's dynasty, I'm taking the Jaden Daniels side.
Okay. So Dan says, do I sell Garrett Wilson in a PPR league? What do you think, Coach?
No, I'm holding on to him. I just think targets gonna get higher and higher for him.
Yeah, I'm holding too. I think he's the best wide receiver on this team. Sucks that Lazard's been having a lot of success if you're the Wilson manager, but there's better days ahead. He's going to be fine. All right. Damian says JSN was dropped in a 10-man PPR. Pick up for Charb, Najee, Brian Thomas Jr. or Likely. Who you dropping, Coach, if you're dropping anyone?
Maybe Charb or Najee. I mean, I'd think about it, but I'm not gonna like. I'm not in love with dropping any of these guys. I like Thomas Jr. I like Likely. I'm not moving either one of those two for sure.
I think for
Some of that
me,
comes back to what's your roster look like there.
exactly. What's your roster? If I have a good running back room and I can afford to drop Charbonnaje in a 10-man league, I might entertain it. But for the most part, I think I'm going to stick with dropping Likely here, which might be the hot take for most people. But I'm gonna go with Likely. I think that his week one is carrying him right now, and I don't think that this offense is run through Likely. I think it's going to be run through all of them. It's Lamar and Derrick Henry right now.
Yeah.
So shout out to Swift. He sent us a super chat over here. He says, "Hey guys, good show. Would you cut Jalen Wright for Roshan or Cordero Patterson? Also have thoughts on Tyler Beatty." I'll let you go first, Coach.
I think Roshan's getting ready to get the primary work in Chicago. Swift has had his chance, and it's not going really well. Roshan seems to be the harder runner. I would cut Jalen Wright for Roshan, not necessarily Cordero, but I would consider that too. But Roshan definitely. Thoughts on Tyler Beatty? Still to be seen. Like I'm not sold on any of that, and the Broncos backfield's a mess right now.
Yeah, I think the Broncos backfield is a mess. You're spot on there. And what we do with that, I don't know, guys. It's tough to predict. It's not going to be a fun backfield to have. I do think that Beatty's going to be interesting going forward, but I think he's going to have to earn that role, and I don't think he's earned it just yet. But I do think that he has earned the right not to be called Tyler Bidet, like they were calling him on the cast last week. Unless we're saying it wrong, then I'm sorry, Tyler. But whatever it is, as for the Jalen Wright, if I'm cutting him for anyone, I'm going to go with Roshan as well. He looked like the most efficient runner out of the three very bad efficient or inefficient runners in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for Cordero, I don't really think I want Cordero on my team. I mean, are you at least intrigued given the news with Najee and Jalen uh, Warren both having some injury concerns?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But if this was dynasty, then I would just hold Jalen Wright for the youth purpose. I mean,
Agreed.
ultimately.
Yeah, if this is dynasty, then I'm in complete agreement. I'm holding the young guy. I'm holding Jalen Wright. If I need someone now, where I feel like there's a chance I might need someone now, then I'll take Roshan. But we appreciate your super chat there. All right, let's get back into some of these trades here, Coach. We've got William again. Is McLaurin a sell high? If so, what running back equivalents are you looking at?
I don't necessarily think he's a sell high. I do think this is a great opportunity to sell him if you need something else on your team. Yes. I do think McLaurin is going to continue to be consistent. And as Jaden Daniels plays more consistent, which he just gets better and better, then McLaurin's going to be more consistent. Like for me, he's a guy I want to go get on my team if I can. Now, not the greatest time to go try to get him. I get it because he's played so well this past week. But, I mean,
Damn
I
right he
want
did.
that guy on my team. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you were looking for a running back equivalent, Coach, who would you be eyeing in that range? How
I mean,
about Devin Singletary? Would you rather have Terry McLaurin or Devin Singletary?
I think that's probably equivalent. That's probably pretty good, but I would rather have McLaurin. But it depends on what my team needs to help me win. Singletary's he's played better than we thought he would play.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm going to hold McLaurin just because they kind of finally showed this offense letting Jaden Daniels throw down the field, and that's where Terry McLaurin has thrived his entire career. You know, he's coming off 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and it would have been 5 as rookie, so I don't see that changing anytime soon. And this is probably the best quarterback he's ever had. So I think McLaurin's going to be just fine this season. He might have some weeks where it's not his week, but I'm going to stick with McLaurin here.
Yeah, and he feels like a guy that even next year is could possibly be thrive even more.
Yeah, and William follows it up with, do we wait a week with him going up against Arizona, or is that too risky? I don't think it's too risky. Will he have 100 yards for a touchdown? Probably not. I mean, I don't think so, but it's possible. I mean, he's the best receiver or pass catcher on Washington's team by far.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dan says, do I trade Singletary, Charbonnet, Garrett Wilson for Debo, Mike Evans, and Brian Thomas Jr.? I
Go
think
ahead, Matt.
I'm going to stick with the Garrett Wilson side on this. I just feel like he's probably the best player in the deal. The Jags offense is abysmal right now. We can spend a lot of time talking about that if you guys want to. Mike Evans is Mike Evans, so he's going to be fine. And Debo, I mean, I guess the question here is, do you need the wide receiver help? Because you're getting 3 wide receivers. And if you need it, then I'm okay with it. But if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
then I think I'm going to keep Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, how bad does losing Singletary and Charbonnet hurt your running back room? And that's something you got to think about. If it's dynasty, see, I love Debo. Like I love Debo. When Debo is healthy, Debo's the guy in San Fran. I do not care about Ayuk and what everybody wants to say about him. Debo is their dude when he's healthy. Um, Mike Evans, he's solid. Of course, if it's dynasty, time's running out. If it's dynasty though, I like the Debo Evans and Brian Thomas Jr. side. I'm just going.
I could
That's
get
where
that.
I'm going.
I could get that. All right, Paul over on Facebook says, "Hi guys, 2 questions. Need RB help. Trading Worthy for Ford this out of line, and second, how many touches do you think Allen is going to start taking from Brees Hall consistently?" Coach, what do you think about trading Worthy for Ford? Assuming that this is redraft, because I don't think anybody's doing that in Dynasty. How do you feel about Worthy?
I'm still hanging on to Worthy. I just think he's too explosive. Ford, things are going to change when Chubb is back, even if it's 2 or 3 weeks from now. I just think Ford's on borrowed time there. I mean, that seems too risky to me.
Yeah, Ford had 10 attempts last week and he had 4 targets. So it's not exactly the highest volume. And, again, this comes down to you need help at running back. Is this the best you can get with Worthy? I understand that it's not been great like it was week 1. So I'm probably holding Worthy or seeing if I can find a manager out there that will pay a little bit more than Ford, especially one that will help long term. Because Worthy was probably going to be a player that someone holds on to for the rest of the year. Ford could get dropped once Chuck gets back.
Yeah, and to your Allen question, I just think you're going to see more of the same. Like I don't think he's going to take over that backfield. Brees Hall's really good too. I just think they really like what they've got going there, sort of thunder and lightning kind of thing. I just kind of expect it to stay the way it is, just to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's really going to be taking any opportunities away from Brees Hall because it's Brees Hall. Like Brees Hall is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Last week he had 11 carries and 3 targets. So is that taking away from Brees? Maybe. But I think this is the future of the NFL. Like the days of the bell cow is over. These teams are going to have 2 running backs, and I think he's a good pairing with Brees. But I would expect his usage to remain around the same with a limited role because when it comes down to it and they need, whether it's big plays or the game is close, I think they're going to be playing Brees Hall, not Braylon Allen.
Yeah, I agree.
And that pairs into this question here from Lex. Braylon Allen or Michael Pittman this week, Coach, in a PPR?
Whew, man. Yeah, that's a
That
tough one.
hurts.
Michael Pittman has been so rough. Yeah, I think I think Braylon Allen probably has a better chance of getting the end zone. It just hurts me to say that, but
Michael Pittman, 8 targets week 1, 7 week 2, 5 last week. I think I'm going to start Michael Pittman. I do feel like we're chasing points with Braylon Allen, and I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but that's what I'm going to do. And Lex added that they also have Roshan. So would you start Roshan over either one of them?
well, to your Michael Pittman point, I mean, the guy has 11 catches for 88 yards through 3 games. I mean, it has been abysmal considering where we hoped he would be. I mean, through 3 games, he's like wide receiver 68 or something. Like, whew, it's been rough. So
It's been really bad. Let me
yeah,
ask you a quick
that's not
question then.
great.
In Dynasty, how much are you panicking right now? Are you must get off my team right now? If so, what are you after? If you had to get a pick, are you just hunting for that first?
Yeah, like I'm not panicking. Like I do feel like it's going to improve for him. He's 26, I believe, so there's some room for improvement. We know he's good, so I'm not panicking yet. But if I'm in redraft, I am fully panicking, and I'm not sure, what I can get for him now either.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. I know that much.
Hmm.
All right, William hits us with another question. If you are the Zamir owner, do you drop P Ryan for Madison? Ooh. If you're the Zamir
Yes,
owner, first I'm going to say I'm sorry, but I
yes. So
think
I mean, I would drop P Ryan for Madison, and I would play Madison over Zamir.
ooh, there you go, William. All right, let's move on here. Gustavo says have two flex spots. Deciding between Juwan Jennings, Pickens, Montgomery, and Moss. Can I get some advice? If you've come to the right place, my friend, you sure can. So, coach, pick two. Who are we going with?
Pickens and Montgomery.
I agree. That's pretty easy to me. Montgomery, they love him. They're going to feed him. He's going to be fine. Pickens, I think he's going to get his volume. Juwan Jennings, great week, but you're chasing the points.
Hmm. Yep,
So,
it's risky.
got another super chat from Swift Coach. Says thoughts on Roman Wilson. Really like his game. So that now we're doing a little bit of a dynasty dive here, Coach. What's your thoughts on Wilson?
I like Wilson. We need Wilson to get healthy. I know Matt, especially, was a big Roman Wilson fan too coming in. I I think he's a good player. Like I do like his game too. He has a lot of potential there. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't feel great about the way they spread the ball around in Pittsburgh. It's not like Fields is going to go out there and throw for 300 plus every week. So, and Pickens is getting the majority of the targets. But long term, dynasty wise, I like Roman Wilson a lot.
I agree. Roman Wilson is someone that I don't have, but I think one share. It just never really worked out for me to get an opportunity to have him on my team. But I do think you hit the word perfect there. Like he's gonna have an opportunity just because of the situation in Pittsburgh. If he can, get healthy and get on the field and Pittsburgh has some resolution to their quarterback problems, which is another conversation for another time, then I think there's a good chance that he could be a benefactor of that. I don't necessarily think Calvin Austin's the answer. And, Pickens can't do it alone. So they need some help. And I think Roman Wilson's going to be an interesting player to watch going forward, especially in Dynasty Leagues, because you might be able to buy him cheap.
Yep, especially now. Now's a good time. If you like Roman Wilson, go see if you can get him right now.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, let's jump on to our next one here, Coach. Peter, he says, killing it. Don't forget to like the show. Thanks, Peter.
That's right.
Yes, don't forget to like the show. Be sure to subscribe to Face Off, like Face Off, follow Face Off over on X. Follow us on X at the FF Mediators. Subscribe to our YouTube as well. We're going to be posting some content with Face Off here. We are happy to be here, proud to be here, and excited to be answering y'all's questions today.
Yeah.
All right. Isaac says start two. Brian Thomas, Waddle, Akers, and Addison, if healthy, and Mooney.
True, man. This is tough. This is tough, especially considering the quarterback situations right now. Because the bad part is Skylar Thompson's playing about as good as T-Law currently. I know that hurts Matt to say, but man, Trevor's been bad.
It
Um,
does hurt.
yeah. I think I like Addison. I like Addison. I like Ryan Thomas Jr. Waddle's the best player listed there, but
And it feels
the
like you
quarter.
can't play him.
I know.
That it's crazy, right?
Yep. Yeah. But it really does. Like you can't play that dude.
And Akers, do you feel comfortable playing Akers if you're stuck in that situation?
Nah. No, I don't want to. No. Mooney though. Mooney's intriguing.
I like Mooney. I've played Mooney in DFS 2 weeks in a row, and I've placed some prop bets on him as well, and both of them have hit. So I think Mooney's been sneaky good. The Falcons went out. They went after him. They vocalized that they thought the Bears weren't using him right. So maybe Coach can comment on that as the Bears fan.
Mm.
But I think if I had to pick two, I'm probably going Brian Thomas and Waddle and just closing my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I see it. Like, and I will say for Trevor Lawrence, it's going to get a little better there. How much better, I don't know. A little better, yeah. Mooney, the Bears not using him right. You got to be able to throw a forward pass to use him right. We've not been able to do that in Chicago in 40 years.
Hey, you did it last week.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've lost.
Tyler says, I'm 100% right about my Bucky call. He's got the receipts. It's true, folks. It's true. All right. Swift says, lastly, which defense you rather have going forward, Vikings or the Bears? I'm going to let Coach answer this
Mm,
first. He spent a lot of time watching and reading up on the North. So go ahead, Coach.
man, that's a heck of a question. The Vikings defense has played extremely well. Like Flores is doing some crazy things technique wise and is really giving people problems. I do tend to think people are going to figure that out a little bit over time. And I think the Bears defense is legit. The Bears defense is a top 5 to 8 defense in the NFL, probably. So I would personally rather have the Bears defense, but I would probably just do it matchup related. If I have both those teams, I'm going to play it by matchup as we go.
If you can only have one, who are you keeping?
I'm keeping the Bears.
I think I'm going to keep the Vikings. I feel like the Bears have been. I don't disagree with anything Coach just said. They're a great defense, good team. I do have a little bit concern about, what has this team played, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I question the Bears going forward if they play some better offenses, but I can't blame you for keeping either one of them because both of them are really good. But if I had to pick one, I'm going with the Vikings. Brian Flores has coached his butt off, man. That guy's going to get a job. It's
Mm-hmm.
really fun to watch that team too because a lot of people doubted that team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I get both sides of this, so I'd feel pretty good about either one, to be honest.
All right, Mr. Wumbo hits us with Jamar Chase and McBride. He has Bowers for Jaden Reed, Odunze, and Barkley in a PPR league. My wide receivers would be Amari Cooper, Reed, Odunze, and Pittman, but I'd have Barkley and Taylor for the RBs. 0-3, trying to spread it out.
This feels like a dynasty question.
You think so?
I mean,
If it's dynasty, then I wouldn't do it at all. There's no way. Jamar Chase and McBride I think are too expensive if it's dynasty. If it's redraft, man, does Odunze and Jaden Reed help the wide receiver room that much? I mean,
now
I
if
imagine.
it's
Go ahead, Coach.
if it's redraft, Barkley's been insane. Like he's the top point scorer so far. Will it finish that way? I don't know, but if he stays healthy, he's going to finish up there, man. If it's redraft, you gotta think about that, considering you have Bowers.
And I like the play for Reed. Too. Reed is someone we both have been preaching all off season. We both really like him. We think he's the one in Green Bay. He's played really well so far. So, but man, giving up Jamar Chase and McBride just really hurts. I wonder if there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
world where you could do McBride for Barkley and build off a trade around that somehow. Because I think that still accomplishes what you're trying to do. But I don't
Mhm.
enjoy trading McBride and Jamar Chase because I feel like if you're starting Amari Cooper and Jaden Reed, how comfortable are you with your wide receiver three being Odunze or Pittman?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I tend to agree there. I mean, Chase and if it is dynasty, Chase and McBride are going to be staples for a long time.
Hmm. All right. Tyler says, how are we feeling about the 49ers offense for fantasy as a whole? Does it come back to the top when everyone returns from injury?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it does. I mean, I think as a whole, I really believe it does. There's still going to be solid. Um, get Debo back, get a healthy Kittle, get a healthy McCaffrey. I mean, those are some big pieces that have been injured um, off and on here. So I think it'll come back. I do.
How concerned are you with Brandon Ayuk? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but Ayuk, it's concerning to me. I know if Hoff was in here, he'd be telling us to relax. It's not that big a deal. So sorry, Hoff.
I'd be a little concerned just because I I never thought Ayuk was the one in the first place. Like if you watch the 49ers play the last couple of years, Debo's the guy they love to get the ball to. And I just thought when they signed Ayuk, I personally thought they were signing their wide receiver too anyway. Um, so I mean, that's kind of how I pictured it the whole time. So that's sort of where we're at now. Can Jennings would make it? I would make me a little concerned, to be honest.
Mhm. I think I'm with you there, Coach. Nothing really else to add.
Yeah.
Isaac says, Kyler Murray or Lamar this week? Bills, I'm kind of hesitant to start Lamar because the Bills' defense was good last week. They were good last week. So was their offense. It's nice when you know you're up by 3 scores and it's not even the second quarter.
Yeah, man. If you're picking between these two quarterbacks, good for you, for one. Good for you.
I, I think if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to pick Kyler Murray here, and I'll tell you why. I have watched every single Washington game for the last 7 years, longer than that, but I just know for a fact for the last 7 years. And their DBs are that DB room is just awful. That everyone's going to pick on them this year. That defense is not very good. So I'm going with Kyler Murray to dice up my Washington Commanders.
Yeah, but I would not hesitate to start Lamar Jackson personally. Um, God, I was just
Yeah,
looking at his stats. I mean, he's rushed for 254 yards. I mean, Kyler Murray 161. Both of those are good. Now Murray's done it on a lot less attempts. I mean, Lamar Jackson has 35 attempts at that too. So the only person with
yeah,
more rushing attempts is named Jaden Daniels when it comes to
looks pretty good
quarterback.
run the ball. What do you think about that?
Hmm. Yeah, he really does. Yeah, but Murray has a better matchup. So if you're unsure, then Murray's matchup is so much better that I got to consider going with him instead of the possible MVP once again, Lamar Jackson.
All right, we got a big trade here. Bryson Young says, "Hey guys, would y'all trade Bijan for James Cook, Rasheed Rice, and Jaden Daniels? Is this an and, not an or?"
Yes,
The answer is
yes,
yes, and
yes.
I
I don't
would hit
care what
accept.
format.
Yeah, pick your format. I mean,
Yeah, and can I just voice my frustration for Bijan right now?
you have
I
the
mean,
floor. Go right ahead.
as a Bijan owner, and some of this was all the hype train. I traded a lot to get that pick and draft Bijan, and he's been underwhelming, and he just has. I mean, he's a good player. The Falcons just continue to waste him, in my opinion. I hope this year would be different in it. Up to this point, it's been average. Ah,
Everyone that's here live, you can tell Coach is very frustrated with this. But yeah, I think this trade's easy. If you can do it, just do it. I don't care about the format. If it's dynasty, holy cow, you're making out with a haul. If it's redraft, you just changed your entire team. So enjoy Bijan. He'll probably be fine for your team. But James Cook is really good. Rasheed Rice is really good. And Jane Daniels has been pretty good.
smash.
Antonio says, no, that's wild. That is wild.
Yeah.
Would y'all do Chubb and Waddle for Pickens and Jacobs? What are your thoughts, Coach?
No, I think Pickens. I'd rather have Pickens than Jacobs, even though Jacobs has been underwhelming also up to this point this year. Chubb's going to come back and he's going to carry the ball a lot. Waddle's quarterback situation is so unsure that I'm just gonna keep Pickens and hang on to that right now.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Pickens and Jacobs too. I like Chubb. He's someone if you can get him and stash on your IR in the pre-draft process, that's great. But right now, Pickens is about the same quarterback question as Waddle, and then Jacobs I think is the better play right now. He's helping you, so give me Jacobs.
Yep.
All right, Dan. Dan gave us some context on his trades from earlier, where he has Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones. Um, let's see. Let's see what Chandler has to say. Should I use the number one waiver claim on White? He was dropped, or nah? My running backs are CMC, Ford, Mostert, and Henry. So I think I need him, but I don't want to waste my claim as the number one. I'm assuming this is Zamir White, not Rashad White. So if you're still in here, Chandler, just let us know and clarify that for us. But if I'm stuck with this situation and it's Zamir White, I don't think I want to pick him up.
No, totally. If it's Rashad White, maybe
It,
he could help you there
yeah,
until Mostert and CMC get back.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you can, I'm not sure what your format is, but if you have the ability to pick up someone for free on Wednesday or Thursday and you need a spot start, you can probably find someone on your waivers there. But I'm not wasting the number one claim on Zamir White. If it's Rashad White, absolutely I am, and I'm a Bucky believer. So Paul
Yeah,
says thanks
totally.
for answering the question. Thank you, Paul, for asking the question. All right, so next one we've got is start Odunze or Worthy.
I would start Adunze. I mean, I saw all week people hating on Adunze and his connection with Caleb Williams. The dude did have 6 catches for over 100 yards last week. I mean, it's just getting better. So I mean, to me, this is the guy I'm starting him, without a doubt.
If we learned anything in the Chiefs' last primetime game, we learned this. Rashee Rice is the one. He is really, really good. And Xavier
True, yeah,
Worthy, he's on the field. He had 50% of the snaps last week. He only scored you 5 points. I'm starting Odunze. Odunze has been more consistent. While, yes, Worthy is the big threat, big play threat, I just don't think you can bank on that right now.
yeah. I mean, I like the way they find ways to get Worthy the ball, but they're going to try to throw the ball to Adunze more than Worthy.
Yeah. All right. Isaac says, should I start Singletary or Terry at the flex? Hmm. What do you think, Coach?
Um, Singletary against the Cowboys. That I I'm probably gonna go ahead and hang on the Terry there in the flex.
Yeah, I think I'm Terry. I do want to look up real quick. Wow, this is surprising, Coach, and I would love to know your thoughts on it. How many attempts would you say Singletary's been getting?
Average.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a loaded question. 16.
16 is spot on. He said
Yeah.
16 the last 2 weeks. Look at you go.
Man,
16
I need
for
to play the lottery.
95 and 16 for 65. Touchdown in both the last 2 weeks. Also adding some solid work through the air, 4 catches, 43 yards last week.
Which is a
I
big part of the reason the Giants have gotten a little bit better, right? They've leaned on
mhm.
the run.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Singletary. I feel like that might be the better play. He's, going to be on the field. I mean, he's had 79% of the snaps, 68% of the snaps, 70% of the snaps. So he's going to be on the field. They're going to need him because they're probably going to be down because Daniel Jones can do what Daniel Jones does.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you there.
Start Dowdle or Akers, Coach?
Dowdle. For me, it's Dowdle.
I
I mean,
think
is
it's
that
Dowdle
kind of
for me too,
that's
but I don't
yeah, it's
feel
just
great.
simple for me.
Yeah, I don't feel great about either one of them, but I'd go Rico.
I do
Trade.
think Dowdle is going to continue to ascend in that backfield.
Well, he's probably the best option. I mean, he's got the most juice, which is
Yeah.
it's the Cowboys backfield is so interesting. How they've done nothing while simultaneously not trying to solve their problem with the players they do have. I feel like so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. We got a trade question here, Coach. Should I trade Tank Dell for Pickens or Ayuk, or should I hold on take Dell? This is a PPR Superflex Dynasty question, Coach.
This is a tough one. Because I sort of think they're all kind of in the same range. I'm a big Tank Dell believer. I was a believer in him from the beginning. I think he's
He
the
was.
most athletic of the three guys. And I like the fact that he's attached to CJ Stroud. I'm just keeping Tank Dell.
I feel like when you're moving Tank Dell right now in Dynasty, you're selling low. And I think you need to hold on to see what happens because he's going to have a better week and his value should go up. I also like Tank Dell. I'm not going to say I had the conviction that Coach had pre-draft because he did. He was all over him prior to the Texans even drafting him. And I don't know, man. I think I'm going to hold on to Tank here. I don't want Ayuk. Pickens would be the one where I'd be like, okay, I'd maybe make that deal, especially if I'm contending. If I'm contending and I think that Pickens is going to provide more stable points on my roster, totally fine with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a sell low on Tank Dell right now. I'd hold.
All right. Sold Shiesty says, is there a way I can send my team? Yeah, absolutely. Go over on X. Shoot us a DM and we'll look at it and we're happy to do a team review. And, maybe we can post on here if we've got time or we can hit it next week if you'd like. And we can try out some team reviews, see if you guys are interested in that.
Yeah.
He said, make sure it's good. We can make sure it's good. All right. And then Pete coming in. If you type it out, shall see the boys can get it. Yep. He's spot on. And then Pete's going to hit us with a question that we don't want to answer because it hurts too much to right now to even answer. Zach Ertz or Mark Andrews this week? Oh my gosh, Coach. Mark Andrews. This is someone that we've been talking a lot about. What do we do with Mark Andrews? It has been an awful ride so far.
All right. So are you ready for this? I think Mark Andrews is going to have a good week. The Bills give up a lot to tight ends. I think this is Mark Andrews' bounce back week. Now, we talked before about we were all concerned about Andrews, or I was concerned with Andrews initially. You weren't so much yet. I'm still concerned about Mark Andrews over the long haul, but I think this week he's gonna bounce back and have a good week. I know Matt has some health concerns there, but as far as Ertz goes, Matt can attest to this a little more, but Sennett's getting a little more run there every day. So,
and they love him. They love him there. It's nothing but positive reports about Sennett out of camp. And I think Zach Ertz is going to continue to be on the field because he showed it on the Monday night game where he was just in the right spot at the right time. And man, was it beautiful. It was so awesome to see Jane Daniels just have someone that was reliable. But I'm starting Mark Andrews. You drafted Mark Andrews. Trust the process. He's going to get better. My dynasty take on Andrews is he is ascending to a sell for me, which is really tough to admit. So we're probably going to talk about that in a video here shortly. So stay tuned on that one.
Yeah, you want to try to hold Andrews till he has a good week, and then, which is coming this week. It's coming this week.
This week, manifested by Coach. If it doesn't happen, everyone blame Coach.
I can handle that.
All right, Hustlin' Bruce says Kenneth Walker for Tyrone Tracy, Javonte Williams in a mid 25 second. Man, oh man. So it's interesting that you say Kenneth Walker. It's interesting that you say Tracy and Javonte because we've talked a lot about them this offseason, and I don't think we can go much further without first saying both of us have been Javonte doubters for a long time. We have avoided the backfield in Denver at all costs. And it's funny because we actually co-manage a team together where we have Javonte, and we've done everything we can to think about ways to move Javonte.
Yeah. It just gets uglier there too. Like now the mid 25 second, like this is something I'm going to consider because I think Tracy has upside. Depends on if it's a dynasty, for instance, and I'm trying to
dynasty.
rebuild.
It's a pick. It's dynasty.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, then I'm thinking about rebuilding, and I'm going to consider this. I am, but Walker's the best player, and if you want to hang on to the best player, then I'd hang on to Walker.
Yeah, I think that's spot on analysis. If I'm a competing team where I think I can survive until Walker gets back, I'm holding on just because I want to win.
And it feels like mid 25 seconds. I don't know. For some reason, I do just as good in the third. It seems like there's just not that much value there. Not as much value there as you would think.
Yeah, if I'm moving Walker and I'm rebuilding or I'm retooling, whatever your situation is, I'm gonna try and get a first. I
Yeah.
want to try and start with a first because that's what you can build off, especially with this RB class that's coming in the 2025 season. We're really excited to dive into that this offseason because, man, there's some big names to look forward to. But that's for another day. We do like Tyrone Tracy. The opportunity hasn't been there just yet. Might have been because of the injury that happened this preseason. But if I'm rebuilding, I'd entertain it. But for the most part, I'm going to try and get more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather just throw out the players and the pick here and just ask for a first instead.
Yeah, yeah. See if you can get a first. And I think there's a chance you can get a first plus. I mean, him being injured kind of, you know, deflates his value a little bit, but for the most part, you can get a first.
Yeah.
All right, Ty Williams over on Facebook says start Jawan Jennings, Waddle, Ford, or Braylon Allen in the flex, or start Ford and Allen over Rashad White. I'm starting Rashad White, so I'm not even going to entertain that part just
Yeah, I
because
agree there.
his PPR volume has been enough to float him. Start Jawan Jennings, Waddle, Ford, or Braylon Allen. I'm going to start Waddle. Just put the best player in the
Yeah.
lineup and close my eyes because the other ones are going to probably give you, best case scenario, 7 to 10 points. Waddle's
Mhm.
best case scenario is 18 points,
Yeah,
So,
totally agree. Waddle's just the best player. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, Soul Trusty says, my starting lineup, I got Hurts, Henry, Bijan, Mike Evans, Olave, Kelsey, Zach Moss, Raiders defense, and Matt Prater. And this is the team review he wanted. So, what are your thoughts on this team, Coach?
True, 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 true. Um, Not bad. I needs a little more out of Zach Moss here. Hurts, Henry, Bijan. I mean, you got to love the backfield.
Yeah.
I mean, Henry was fantastic this past week. Bijan, I know he's just been he's kind of a downer there. Um, Evans, Olave, I like this team. Olave, we need Olave to pick it up for sure. Like the receiving core could be a little better. There's there's room to improve that right there for sure.
I think if I did anything, I'm going to try and improve the wide receiver room, just like you said. I
Yeah.
mean, Mike Evans and Olave, is that what you want out of your two wide receivers? Probably not. I think Mike Evans will be fine. Olave will be fine. But do you feel like you have a locked in wide receiver one this year that's going to finish top 12?
No, and I think if it's redraft, I would consider trading Bijan because you can get the world for him. You can probably go get a wide receiver one plus tear down running back maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, is if you could take Bijan and try and tear down and get, you know, some sort of running back that's going to have an impact on your team still while also netting you a wide receiver. So let me just hit some names that I think you could get. What about David Montgomery? If you trade Bijan, get David Montgomery, I'm sure you can get a big name wide receiver in return. Are you
Yeah.
comfortable with
So
starting
people,
Montgomery?
yeah, absolutely, and people are just in love with Bijan, the name.
Mm-hmm. And I think you can trade Bijan and go get like Jonathan Taylor and get a plus on top of that. So there's names out there that I would explore if I wanted to improve my team, but just kind of depends.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Jonathan Santiago says 0-3, trying to avoid Gibbs bye week. Trade Gibbs and Bowers for JT and Waddle. I have McBride already.
Trying to
Hmm.
avoid gives. Hmm.
So let me see here. Gibbs is on bye next week. So he needs a win this week and then needs a win next week.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that play. I would rather have JT than Gibbs, but I would much rather have Bowers than Waddle. So, um,
But he
I
has
get it.
McBride. So, if I'm having to buy a win, I'll do it. But I don't know if you have to start Waddle, how much does that impact this trade for you? If Waddle can go on your bench and you've got enough to cover it, then do you feel better about that?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Because Waddle's going to be back as soon as they get a quarterback come whatever situation happens there. I don't think Skylar Thompson's going to be the quarterback there forever. They're going to have to do something there soon.
Too much talent.
Or Tua's coming back. So, um, yeah, then and I'm going to consider that because JT's good, man. He's played really well, and the Colts have been giving him the football.
Yeah, I like JT too. Um, Tron Force says, I was thinking about dropping Demarcus Robinson for Emmanuel Wilson, Jacob's handcuff, or Mike Williams. Who's the better stash? I'm fine with dropping Demarcus Robinson. Let me go ahead and start by saying that.
Yeah, me too. I'd probably stash Emmanuel Wilson if I was going to stash one. Mike Williams just there's not much value there.
That feels like Emmanuel Wilson's the most upside play too. I mean, Mike Williams is we know what he is. Is he the third best wide receiver right now on his team? Yeah, probably. But I mean,
Yeah,
he's
it
going to
doesn't feel like
score.
a stash to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Wilson feels like a stash to me.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're the Jacobs manager, then it also makes sense. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'd go Emmanuel Wilson here.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got full PPR. Josh Allen, Rashee Rice, and Dowdle for Bijan and Burrow. This is pretty easy for me, Coach. I don't know about your thoughts, but I'm taking the player that's going to score the most points this year, and that's Josh Allen. And I'm going to take Rashee Rice, and I'll hold Dowdle. It doesn't really matter in this situation. Bijan and Burrow are both great, but Josh Allen is just playing on another level.
Yeah, I agree. I'm holding Josh Allen for sure, and I think Dowdle's going to do a little better as we go.
All right. Do you guys think Smith for Eagles plays this weekend? I would imagine. I haven't really read much about Devonta Smith this week, Coach. Have you seen anything?
No, it's been kind of up in the air.
Yeah,
you
he
can't
didn't
trust it.
practice again today, so
Yeah,
I'd probably lean on him not playing, which is going to be interesting with the Eagles pass catching.
yeah.
Dallas
That brings your
Goedert to the
boy
moon.
back into play. Your boy back into play.
Jahan,
Of course, Goddard had a good week last week.
he did. He looked really good. All right, this is a good question. We spoke a little bit about this off camera earlier. Got Jonathan Brooks off the waivers somehow. Do we think he's a league winner late? Also, start Monty or ETN this week. Cheers. Cheers to you, Ryan. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
I'll let you go first, Coach.
I don't know that Jonathan Brooks is a league winner later. It's a really interesting situation in Carolina's backfield. I'm located in North Carolina, so I get all this Panther talk. I've got a 10-year-old that loves the Panthers, so we're all in on this. Jonathan Brooks is probably more talented than Chuba Hubbard, but Chuba Hubbard was phenomenal this past week. So I do think if Brooks comes back, which he's going to come back after week 4, he'll be back week 5. I think he might share the backfield load with Chuba Hubbard. I don't think he's going to full takeover. Again, the Panthers team is very average at best. Dalton makes them respectable, so people need to start thinking about playing Deontay Johnson in the flex again, for instance. So he makes the offense viable. If it's dynasty, I'm loving that I've got Jonathan Brooks on my team for the long haul. But in redraft, I don't know that he's a league winner later. I mean, it's so hard to say. He got 0 preseason work whatsoever. So, I mean, that's really kind of a guess. And I'm starting Monty over ETN this week.
Yeah. For me, I do think Jonathan Brooks is an interesting player to watch as we go forward this season. Seems like they want to fire him up here soon. I don't think it's going to be very helpful right away. So you're going to have to be ready to take some lumps early on. But overall, I'm excited to have him on my team. I'm happy if he's in my IR spot and I can afford to keep him because I do think there's going to be some weeks at the end of the season that we're going to see him get the workload and flash. And that might be right around the fantasy playoff team where he's one of those players that just comes in and they just say, all right, we're not any good. We're probably 3 and 12 or something like that. Let's just give the ball to Jonathan Brooks 20 times and see what happens. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I expect. So I'm happy you got him on waivers. That's awesome. I think there's a chance he could absolutely be a league winner.
And
For
I've been a yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I've been a real hater over this Panther move in general. Andy Dalton does make them a more viable team. I think they win 5 or 6 games. That's not really necessarily good for Carolina. I think they would have been better off losing them all, just to
Yeah,
be honest.
they need to. They
But ticket
absolutely
prices
need
were
to.
already in the tank. David Tepper was going to do something. David Tepper's the problem, not don't get me started on that. But I mean I get it. They're gonna win more games. They're gonna sell more tickets. They're gonna be a better product to watch. But over the long haul, I don't know how winning 5 or 6 games is going to help you.
Yeah. Montgomery plays Seattle. Etienne's got Houston. I'm going to go with Travis Etienne here. I just kind of have this weird feeling he's going to score a touchdown this weekend. Like him to do okay against the Texans defense there. So I'm going to start Etienne and move on. Coach is laughing at me for my Jags defense over here. It's
He probably has a
unbelievable.
Jags T-shirt on underneath that.
I
Claims
don't.
such.
I don't. Okay, you know what? This guy can't trust him. All right, icy applesauce. I can't believe we've. Is your icy applesauce any good? Is that good? I don't know.
It's
Full
a great name.
PPR. Full PPR. Who would you recommend starting in my flex? Scary Terry, Deontay Johnson. We just talked about that, or Zach Moss. And I think the answer is Deontay Johnson. That's for me.
I agree. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I do. Like he's getting ready to get the ball a lot more now with Andy Dalton taking snaps.
He sure is. He had 86% of the snaps last week, 14 targets, 8 catches, 122 yards. My word, Deontay
Mm-hmm.
Johnson here.
Yep.
All right. Savvy says if Kenneth Walker is out, flex 1 point PPR. Braylon Allen, D Hop, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Legette, Bucky Irving, or JMO. Prefer a safe floor. I should win if I don't bust bad. Interesting.
For me, it's JMO. Then, if I'm trying not to bust, I think JMO's gonna get some touches. I like JMO there. I feel like he's the safest play.
You know, I was going to say that D Hop would be the safest play. His first 2 weeks were awful. Last week was fine. He had 7 catches with 1 touchdown. But it's important to remember he only had 40% of the snaps. He hasn't played over 50% of the snaps at all this year. So I wouldn't
Hmm.
consider that safe. Brian Thomas, I don't think we can trust the Jags right now to be the safe floor that you're asking for, despite me just talking about Travis Etienne. I'm going to go with JMO too because I feel like he's going to get his touches, and he's also the only player on this list that could absolutely win you the week.
Yeah, and he's averaging a little over 7 targets a game. Like, I'll take that.
Yeah. All right.
If I'm hunting something safe, I'll take that.
Well, Moneyline Mills hits us with 100. Yes, sir. Let us know. Let us know your thoughts. Yeah. Easy coach with the guns. Keep them down, okay? All right. Pete says, I'm going to say he doesn't play this week. Mills, if I had to guess, Brown sits as well. Oh, he's responding to the question. We appreciate your help, Pete. Thanks. All right. Let's see here. Should I start Jaden Reed or Amari Cooper for the flex this week? Love is practicing again. No word yet. We probably won't know anything until about an hour before kickoff when they're required to say who's going to play.
I like Jaden Reed. I'm a big Jaden Reed fan, but Amari Cooper had such a big week last week. I gotta give that guy one more shot here.
And I was telling Coach too, while week 1 and 2 weren't exactly the best performance for Amari Cooper, his volume has been insane. And his target totals are much higher than Jaden Reed. So I'm going to go with Amari Cooper and just hope that it fits in and works.
Yep, I agree.
Also asked us, do you think I should trade away Devontae Adams for anyone? This is a 12-man standard format league. I'm assuming redraft. So would I trade away Devontae Adams? I would. What can you get? I mean, any ideas, Coach? Like, would you entertain trying to trade Devonte Adams for someone like Khalil Shakir?
Well, 100%. That would be no question to me.
And,
Like
and I
if
think you can
if
get
I
a package.
yeah, and I think that's something you really should try to do if you're a Devonte Adams owner, because there are people out there that think he's really good when he's not that great anymore. So yeah, I mean, you capitalize on the name right
Yeah,
there.
he's got 18 receptions, 209 yards, and a touchdown on the season, 27 targets. So he's been okay, but I do think that this offense is in trouble. The team is they're switching from Aiden O'Connell to Gardner Minshew, right, Coach?
Yeah. Oh, back
Or excuse
from
me,
Gardner
that
Minshew.
yes,
Yeah,
Minshew
yeah,
to Aiden O'Connell.
yeah, yeah.
So
So I don't know. Uh,
we'll see what
Devontae Adams,
happens.
mid. I mean, I would consider trading him for sure.
Yeah, it just depends on what your league values him at, but I would absolutely entertain putting him on the block and just see what happens. Trump Force says my two wide receivers have been impacted by injury. Tyreek, Cup, so sad, man. We can feel you there. Would you
Hmm.
look to trade either one, or would you ride it out? I'm 2-1 PPR league. Other wide receivers are McLaurin, JSN, D Hop, and Mooney.
2-1. I'm gonna hang in for a minute. Like, if you were 1-2, I'd move out. But if I'm 2-1, I'm gonna try to hang in there. If I can just, I say this all the time, man. Like, just get in the playoffs. Like, if your team can be good enough to get in the playoffs, and all of a sudden Tua comes back and Tyreek's with him, and then Cup comes back, like, okay, like heck yeah, let's roll.
Yeah, and I don't think I want to sell Tyreek just yet because he's while he didn't have a great week last week, he has proven over his career that when Tua's out, he still can perform and do very well. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna hold on to Tyreek. Cup injury. If I hit the point where I need someone, then I might entertain that. But
Hmm.
I'm not really sure what value you're going to get right now. So I'm holding on, seeing if I can survive.
Yeah,
All right, Coach. Mahomes for Devonta Smith and Najee.
man. The Mahomes hate this week in the fantasy world, especially, drives me nuts. Like, the dude is unbelievable. He's had a couple bad games fantasy wise. They're still winning. He, I mean, he's going to be elite when it's all said and done. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I'm keeping Mahomes. Unless you got something really good backup behind him, I'm keeping Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. We've talked a lot about this off air between the two of us. Of the Mahomes hate has just gone way too far. Like
Yeah,
a lot of people are, panicking about his performance so far. Hasn't been a QB1 on the year. He's still Patrick Mahomes, guys, and he's still just he gets it done. As he's had slow starts before, I think he's gonna be fine. I'm playing him. If I'm doing this trade for Devonta Smith or Najee, that just doesn't feel like a good return, especially given both of them are on an injury watch list this week.
yeah. Nothing about Najee really makes me interested.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. All right, Garrett Wilson or Pickens? Zach's asking this week. Who do you play?
I'm playing Garrett Wilson. I think
Yeah,
he's a safe play because he still has always been consistent, but his big week is coming soon. I mean, Rogers pretty much said that. Everybody every week's been trying their best to take him away. His big week's coming soon. He's gonna be average if he struggles. So Garrett Wilson.
all right, let's hit a few more before we wrap things up, Coach. So Ryan
Yeah,
says Kincaid or Ferguson as well for full PPR. I know your answer, but I'm gonna let you say it.
yeah, Ferguson.
Ferguson for me too. I think
Hmm.
Josh Allen's just spreading the ball around. He's doing a good job. Um,
Kincaid had a good night the other night, but Ferguson is going to get more targets.
yeah. All right. So Michael says I have Goff, Fields, Rashad White, Kenneth Walker, Dobbins, Braylon Allen, Chandler Chase, London, Addison, Shaheed, Odunze, McConkey, Puka on IR
Mm.
pits. Thanks in advance.
Well, he's got something on down a little bit. I see attached to that.
Where should I improve? Thanks, Coach. I didn't see that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So where should we improve this team, Coach? I think
Running back.
that's where I'm at too. Who would you move? I'd probably move Addison. I'd start with Addison, see if I can take Addison and maybe Braylon Allen and move up.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my
Yeah.
starting point.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, you can get something. I mean, I'm definitely gonna hang on the Dobbins. Um, I like that. Addison and Braylon Allen. See if I can tear up with a more dependable running back.
Yeah, but for what it's worth, I do like this team.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when Puka comes back.
Yeah. All right, incognito. Rashee Rice, Bucky Irving, or A Chain?
I mean, is he saying Rashee Rice and Bucky Irving, or for either of those guys?
If he's saying Rashee Rice and Bucky Irving for A Chain, then I'm taking Rashee Rice and Bucky Irving. If
Mm-hmm.
we're asking who to start, I'm going Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Rashee Rice is a stud.
I agree. Yeah, he's legit. He's the one in that
Yeah.
offense. All right, let's move on down here. Moneyline Mills says Reed went crazy on my bench week 1. Yeah, it happened for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a guy.
Could be talking about yourself.
No, maybe.
That's what you get for not believing.
Mm.
Mr. Wumbo comes back and says, since you guys weren't sure about the last trade, if I changed it to Jamar Chase, McBride, and Pittman for Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, and Saquon, redraft PPR.
Now, if I remember this right, he had Bowers, correct? Yes.
I think he had Bowers.
Yes, he did. So Chase McBride, Pittman for Garrett Wilson, Reed, Saquon. I like that better.
I do too. I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks moving off Jamar Chase, but I'll do it if I have to. Especially, I don't remember if this was a situation of where, 1-3 or 1-2 or 0-3, whatever it might have been. But you're not wrong in what you said earlier, Coach. Saquon Barkley has the most points in fantasy, I think, right now. So, not a good get.
Yeah, not like Jaden Reed to me is better than Pittman. I'd rather have Jaden Reed than Michael Pittman right now.
Yeah.
You have Bowers. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like it better too. All right, let's just hit a few more. Got a dynasty question here. 10-team dynasty PPR Superflex. I'm 3-0 and hurting for a reliable RB1. I can relate to this situation. One guy swindled Bijan, JT, and Josh Jacobs on one team. He's not budging with anything I send him. What do I do? All right, Coach. We've been in a few situations like this where we're trying to find that running back. So I'll start by saying, can you go and see what team is in last place or last in points for and try and get one of those running backs? Someone that I've been looking at on contending teams where I'm 3-0 and I feel really confident in my ability to win the league. I'm looking at someone like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, because you can, especially if he's on a bottom feeding team, he can help you.
Mm-hmm.
You can get him for cheaper then.
And I think that you can probably get Derrick Henry for about a second. They might try and talk you into doing a first. I would not trade a first for Derrick Henry unless for some reason I know I'm locked in to win the league and it's some big pot. Like I can, win a bunch of money, then I might be interested in that. Another name to watch is Alvin Kamara. You could go look at Alvin Kamara, see what the owner there is doing if his team is successful, his or her team, excuse me. It's you got to look for those vets.
Well, I'll tell you a guy I really like is James Conner in this instance. And now's the perfect time because this past week was not a great week for him. But he's the guy in Arizona. They're going to feed him the ball constantly. They've said it time and time again that he's their bell cow. And if he's on a team in the bottom half of your league, like you can get him for a second. I'm not giving up my first unless I'm really desperate. I got something I can't turn down. So I'm going to try to move my second for somebody like James Conner if I can.
Yeah, and you know what? Send us a DM over on X at the FF Mediators, and we'll we'll jump in there and see if we can't help you look at your league and see if we can find a trade option for you. Something we like doing. We've done it in the past for some people, so let us know, and we're happy to try and help you out where we can. All right, Coach. Let's hit one more here. Let me find something.
Okay.
If we did not get your question, please put it in the comments. We'll come back and try and answer as many as we can. Also, like I said, let us know on X if you've got any questions for us. Let's go with this one. Braylon says, any areas I should look to improve? 12 team, 2 super flex, 2 flex, Stroud, CD, Nico, Jacobs, Najee, Kincaid, London, and a Dunze. I mean, I like that wide receiver room of CD and Nico. That's an awesome room right there. And then you're adding London and Odunze.
Yeah, the running back room kind of jumps out at me. Like I've been a Jacobs guy. I've had a lot of shares of Jacobs over the time, but for whatever reason, he's not really moving the needle a whole lot. Najee, same way. He's just kind of for me. If I could improve, I'd look down in there to improve. Maybe maybe use London somehow to help me get another running back.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd probably entertain too, is seeing if I can improve the running back room. Like you said earlier, Najee doesn't really do anything for you. Doesn't really do anything for me. I
Mm-hmm.
want to try and solve that position, especially with this roster, because you got a really good team. So well done drafting or trading or whatever you've done to assemble this team. So see if you can't, you know, try and find a way to get a better running back and help build this team out for a championship run, because that's the goal. We're trying to win fantasy championships.
Yep. Hey, hit Colby's question down there. One final one.
All right. Balin says one thing. Let's hit this really quick before we do that question. He says my thing with Najee is he's getting like 20 touches per game. Can't
Yeah.
dispute that. I
Yeah.
mean, he definitely is getting the workload, but the problem with that is that offense is a little bit inflated right now. I think a lot of people are pretty high on Justin Fields and how the offense has performed, and they really haven't been that good. Um, you know, Najee, yes, he's getting 20 rushing attempts a game basically, but he's averaging below 4 yards a carry. So it's not very efficient. He had 5 catches this past week, but for me, most of the time, I'm trying to get out of the Steelers' backfield and see if I can't improve off of that. But I can't blame you if you want to hold on to him for his volume play. But I do think it's going to be capped.
He's also, even with all the touches, running back 31.
Yeah, I mean, 8 points, 11 points. So all that
And
volume
and,
hasn't.
and Jacobs is running back 30. Ugh.
Yeah, it sucks right now. But let's jump to
Yeah.
Colby's question real quick here. So he says, pick 3 out of the 4 PPR: Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Diggs, or Deontay. Okay.
What do you think? There you go. What do you think there,
All right.
Matt?
I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson for sure. He's the one. Like you said, lots of talk from Aaron Rodgers about him just being kind of shadowed the last couple weeks. So I'm liking Garrett Wilson. Give me Deontay. Everything we said earlier, he has been a volume machine with
Mm-hmm.
Thielen going out. I think that's only going to increase. For the last one, I'm picking between Jacobs and Diggs. I'm going Jacobs. I think that Diggs is the odd man out in Houston. That doesn't mean he's not going to have good weeks. Doesn't mean he's not going to be good. I just think that it's a little bit unpredictable down there.
I think I'm going Diggs in that situation.
Okay,
But I
over
mean,
who?
not
Over Jacobs?
over Jacobs. Yeah, I like the three. I like Wilson, Diggs, and Deontay.
I can't blame you. I mean, I think if I'm having to pick between these 4 players, it's a pretty good problem to have.
No
There's a
doubt.
lot
No
of people
doubt.
over here going Braylon Allen or Zamir White or Alexander Madison that we've been answering questions about, and I'd rather pick between this list.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, well, Coach, before we wrap up, is there any player that you are out there thinking about that you want to buy or sell, or you're holding on that you've got a strong conviction for?
Well, an interesting guy to me right now is Aaron Rodgers. Um, what are you going to do with him? If it's dynasty, where does your team sit? Are you on the bottom half there? And if so, is Aaron Rodgers on your team? If so, there's somebody up above you that can use him. I mean, this is guys I have a feeling is going to have a really good year. So if it's dynasty, now's a good chance for you to go ahead and move that guy if you can, if you think you're trying to rebuild. Or if you need something to make your team a little better, then maybe you go offer the Aaron Rodgers owner a second, try to get a piece of him and make a run for a championship.
Yeah, I think for me, the name that's sticking out there is I want to try and sell Javonte Williams right now. We've talked a little bit about this Denver backfield today, and it's one that I've got a lot of concerns with. I had concerns coming into the year, and I haven't seen any change in that so far. So if I can move Javonte and get some sort of pick in return, then I'm happy. If you can get a second, that's great. If you can get a third and a dart throw, I'd probably do that
Hmm.
too.
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you one thing here. So, tell
Sure.
me what your thoughts are on Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh,
Like, what are you doing with him right now?
so, you know, Coach makes a lot of jokes about my Jaguars shares because I do have a lot of Trevor Lawrence shares. I think I have almost, you know, 35% rostership or something like that. I don't know, it's something too high. But I am concerned. I've defended him the last 3 weeks about it, but I think this past week he did not play great and he threw a really bad pick. But that does not change that this team was down by 3 scores in the first quarter. Like I think the defense was awful. The Bills' offense was that good, and
Hmm.
I think you have to hold Trevor Lawrence right now unless you're going to get someone who's going to pay him at what I believe his market value is, not what his current buy low window would be. You know, I had a recent trade with him um, with Tyler in here in one of our leagues, and we were able to trade him for a first and Lad McConkey, and we had a couple of random pieces in there, Luke McCaffrey, and I think we
Hmm.
traded Trevor and um, a vet. I can't remember who it was, but I think that's the type of trade I'm doing. If I'm moving him off my team, I want to make sure I'm getting good value. A first
Hmm.
is awesome, and then adding a player would be great, but I'm just not going to be one of those people that's out here selling him for dirt cheap. That's too soon for me. You need to hold because this team's going
Well,
to improve.
but I also think at the same time, this is not a time you're going to get a first for Trevor Lawrence. I really feel like it's a guy now that if you have Trevor Lawrence, you need to wait and hold for a good week before you try to move him. Like it's
Yeah,
just not the time. Like you're not getting what you could possibly get for a 24-year-old 6'5" guy with tons and tons of potential. You know what I mean? Like he still has worlds of potential. So I mean, is Trevor Lawrence Daniel Jones? We shall see. But
I hate those comparisons. I sure do, but I won't lie. Again, he's played really bad. There's no way around that. I'm not ready to sell him, and I do think that this has been so evident when you watch this game. This team misses Evan Ingram. They miss him
yeah,
bad, man. He's a big time playmaker for the team, and they lost him in week 2, and they just haven't looked right since.
yeah, they need him back in a bad way.
Because
But I
I
mean,
mean, go
Trevor
ahead.
Lawrence has potential to be a really good player. Like I said, you're not going to get the value you could get for him right now. I'm
No,
just going to hold. I'm going to hold and pray. I mean,
yeah, and we've mentioned and teased earlier that we're going to be making some videos on or make a video on Mark Andrews. So I don't want to get too much into that one. We've talked a lot about Garrett Wilson. Do you have any sort of conviction about these rookie quarterbacks, Coach? Anything you want to offer everyone?
man, I really like these rookie quarterbacks. To be honest, Bo Nix had a great week last week. Jaden Daniels had a great week. Um, Caleb Williams, you saw him marked improvement there. Like I think there's big potential for these guys. We came in thinking there was, um, and I really believe like these are dudes you want a piece of if you can get them. I like these guys a lot.
Yeah. I think I'm with you there. Jaden Daniels, great week, like you said. Caleb Williams was much improved as well. So I think these
Mhm.
rookies are going to continue to get better. They could be the future of the league. I don't know. It's time will tell. Bo Nix has been someone that you've been talking a lot about this offseason. Someone,
Mhm.
you know, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with Sean Payton in that offense. But it's exciting time for these rookie quarterbacks, man.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for us, folks. If you have any more comments, please comment now. We'll come back into the chat and we'll answer your questions. Also, feel free to hit us up over on X at the FF Mediators. Give us a follow. Let us know your questions. We're always on there, posting our content, answering questions. So feel free to hit us up with the DM, and we're happy to help you where we can. Subscribe to our YouTube as well at the FF Mediators. And of course, we can't go without saying you need to be liking, subscribing, and following anything related to Face Off. We're proud to be affiliates of the Face Off Sports Network. So we want to thank them for letting us be here today. And we'll probably be doing a show every single Wednesday at 8:30. So tune in, stay tuned. And until next time, we will see you then.